Welcome, friends, to the start of Season 6 on Ride the Tide Collective, the podcast where I equip ambitious corporate professionals who value the stability of the 9-to-5 to strategize and take action to advance their career. If you're new here, I started this podcast off in 2019 solo because I wanted to share 10 years of career strategy, coaching, and counseling with the world. And in 2021, I decided that I wanted to share stories from mid-career professionals. This is the kickoff to the second season of interviews, and I'm starting strong with a professional I connected with months ago on LinkedIn. Shekhar Quatra is the data and AI architect for IBM, as well as a master inventor who has over 350 patents to his name. Yes, 350. Outside of hearing about all of Shekhar's accomplishments and his path to where he is now, we get into talking about AI, its purpose, and how it's used. I wanted to make sure that I understood his role, and I asked quite a few questions to help me, a layperson, understand the position. For anyone interested in AI or artificial intelligence, this is a great episode to learn more. With all his accomplishments, Shekhar has a humble and peaceful spirit that will draw you into his story and knowledge. I'm excited for you to hear his story, and I'll be looking forward to following his career moving forward. If you're looking for links to resources mentioned in this episode, you can head over to ridethetidecollective.com/podcast to find the episode blog, and I'll also link it in the show notes. As always, if you want to connect with me or need inspirational and educational career management and advancement content, you can follow Ride the Tide Collective on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. I am also on Clubhouse now at Ride the Tide COL. If you're loving these interview episodes, please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out. And if you didn't know, I also have a video version of this interview on my YouTube channel, which you can also subscribe to. Just search Ride the Tide Collective. As always, I appreciate your support. Welcome, everyone. I am so happy to have you with us today. My guest today is somebody that I have been trying to get on this podcast for months, and I am so excited to actually have him here to interview. And his name is Shekhar Quatra, and he works for IBM as an inventor, as a master inventor. He works in data and AI. I mean, his resume is absolutely insane. And when we connected on LinkedIn, I knew that he had to come onto the podcast and share his story because, oh my gosh, the things that you've done in your career, and I feel like you are just getting started at this point. So it's so exciting. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on this podcast and sharing your story of being an inventor and having over 300 patents and inventions. That just absolutely blows my mind. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Julia, for having me here. It's a pleasure. It's definitely a pleasure.
Yes. Okay. I just want to jump in because I feel like there's so much in your career path to talk about, and it's so interesting to me. So let's jump in with, tell me about what you do right now. What is the position that you have and the work that you do right now?
Sure. So currently I work as a data and AI architect. Some people can also say it closely ties with data scientist. So working with a lot of clients right now, client engagements, where my main expertise I would like to call is ML ops. What that means is right now as data scientists, we would build a lot of machine learning projects, and most of them are like hobby projects. But when it comes to productionizing your models, right now, I would tell you that only 20% of the models that are developed are actually pushing or being pushed into production. And the main reason is, it's more of data science and machine learning. It's still more of a research field or research area. And there are so many differences from a rule-based approach. It's not, very deterministic in fashion. Mm-hmm. So when we look at ML ops, which essentially means machine learning operationalization, It's basically creating that end-to-end data and AI pipeline, all the way from fetching data from different kind of clients, different sources, applying some governance rules and policies on that data, right? Like you might have your social security information.
Right.
A data scientist doesn't need to care about social security information. So an administrator might want to hide that particular piece. So applying those GDPR rules, compliance rules on the data, and then pushing that model into validation step after building a particular algorithm, running a different model, deploying that model into a development environment, validating that model, and then eventually pushing that into a production stage where millions of requests are being sent to score the model. What it means by scoring the model is you want to understand the output. So think of it like a REST API or a third-party endpoint that you can continuously poll and try to get the output. Again, I'm going a little bit granular, but just to come back, take a step back here.
No, that's so helpful. I'm following you. I don't know if everybody's following you. I'm following.
Great.
That's okay.
Trying to make it as broad as possible, but having that understanding of a data and AI pipeline, and eventually building MLOps solutions for the clients is basically my main task as a data and AI architect.
Is this like, is this really applicable in like finance? Would that be an example of that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Be it finance and banking sector, be it healthcare industry, you name it, customer segmentation to customer churn models and all of those different kind of things. It all comes under, building MLOps frameworks. And then basically the idea is to provide explainable insights to the auditors, to the C-suite execs of the companies, and eventually have that pipeline up and ready for production that, it saves enormous amount of time for our banks, for different kind of sectors as well. Call it financial, healthcare, gaming platforms, all of that stuff.
Okay. So back in my higher education days, I used to work with financial engineers. So they used to build like different models and things. So for my understanding as a layperson, you're like above that. Like you're kind of building like the whole structure of the process, and somebody like a financial engineer would come in and build a portion of that, right? Am I understanding that right?
I would say yes. Yeah. So when you're thinking of use cases, I would say when we talk about MLOps, you will have data administrator, financial engineer, data scientist, data steward. All of them working together in this cross matrix collaboration, if you will, in order to make this happen. So you have data ops and MLOps. It's like operationalizing your data, operationalizing your machine learning aspect to it as well, and building or tying that together to eventually create something substantial. So yes, all of those people, including not just these engineers that I talked about, but even business analysts, even execs who would eventually be looking at the outputs to provide some recommendation to the clients. So even that's also a part of it.
Okay. So basically we're taking a bunch of data that a company might have, whatever that would be, and you're putting it through the AI, you're putting it through a process that's going to spit out like a report or whatever they need to know. That's essentially like, is that like a simplified?
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. So that would be one use case where we can generate a report with something what we would like to call some kind of fact sheet, which can be provided to the clients and even our internal folks as well to have a better understanding. And at the same time, it's about not just collecting, analyzing, and infusing, but also tying up with the different, AI is one thing, and then hybrid cloud is another thing. So you would also want to showcase how you can build your models on any kind of cloud environment. So that's where now we are going with hybrid cloud, or we are going with AI anywhere approach. We don't just want to be restricted in our silos, right? We want to have a more sophisticated, a more broad, a more integrated environment rather than just working in silos.
Okay. Oh my gosh. This is so interesting. Wow. Okay. So this might be a dumb question, but I feel like there are no dumb questions. So
Absolutely.
AI is kind of a new thing. And I think most people would be familiar with algorithms in terms of social media, right? I feel like the majority of people, they're like the algorithm for Instagram, the algorithm for whatever.
Mhm.
Do you like, there are people out there that I feel like are really scared of AI and like scared of the machine learning aspect. And I feel like movies have done that to us, to be to be really fair.
Yeah.
I mean, you're somebody that's working in this every day. Is that something that scares you, or do you have such a sophisticated understanding of it that it's like, no, it's still a human behind this, really telling it what to do? And if you can't answer that, that's okay. I feel like I was just, as you were talking, it came up for me. So
No, I think that's a fair question. A lot of people do think about it, including me, including all the famous scientists. Again, I'm nowhere close to those people who have been, I would say, on the forefront, the vanguards of technology in the AI forefront. But it's a very speculative question, I would say, where I don't think there is a definitive answer to that, but we are still, I believe, just my personal opinion, where we are still far behind where AI can do magic. AI can do everything. There will always be a human in the loop, is what we like to call it, who would be involved and working closely with, if you want to say, robots or different kind of machinery that you want to apply, even if they are self-learning, right? Even if we are putting some algorithms where they can learn, we still need to follow Asimov's rule if someone wants to read that, or and at the same time think about Murphy's law as well, right? If anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. So it's an open-ended question. People do still speculate over it, but I think we are still far behind, because when people think about AI, a lot of people do think about it's just black magic or something. It's essentially just statistical analysis that people are trying to do and trying to make things happen, to make their lives easier. Think about autonomous vehicles. Think about drones, which can avoid each other. Speech to text algorithm, the natural language algorithm, someone doing sentiment analysis on Twitter. All of these are, practical hobby data science things that people like to do, and they have a better understanding of the data then.
yeah.
And your AI models are only as good as the data. If you don't have good enough data, then your models would not perform as well.
Right. Thank you. I really appreciate you just giving your perspective on that, because I'm somebody that's interested in technology, but not in it enough to, understand all the aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've seen, especially in the last 5 to 10 years, especially, is how it's been able to help so many people as well. And so even you mentioned speech to text, right. And it's such a simple, well, it's probably not simple really, but to us as the end user, it seems like such a simple thing. But it's something that I use in coaching now, where I tell clients, look, if you are somebody who can't sit and write, or you don't want to write your thoughts out in a questionnaire or something, I'm like, throw it in a speech to text program, throw it into like a Google Doc or a Word doc and do speech to text and speak it, so that you at least are getting out what you want to get out, and you don't have to worry about the mechanics of writing it out. And that's such a simple thing, but to me, for learners who are like that and people who just want to speak, it's such a huge impact to their lives that makes it so much better. So
exactly. And think about it this way: like speech to text is again one portion where you would want to use a little bit of machine learning or statistical analysis. Even in like when we are writing something like sending someone messages, we get those recommended emojis. Even that's AI, right? It's as simple. It can be as simple as that. A very simple application. Or even when we are writing half sentence, and then now Google and other startups, they're able to predict what would be the rest half of the sentence. Sentence prediction, again, another AI use case. Autonomous vehicles, understanding the environment around you, being more contextually aware. All of these things, even these kind of smart, I would say, virtual agents, or like Google Home, Amazon Echo,
Right.
all of these things. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh my
they're
gosh.
burgeoning, right, over the time.
Ah, so cool. That's so cool. Oh my gosh, I love your job. That's absolutely amazing. Okay, let's get into how you got here. So, I would love to know, what are the couple of poignant transitions that you've had in your career that got you to this place? And I know you've spent, I think, most of your like post education career at IBM, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
So, okay, explain the journey. What are a couple of pieces that you're like, these were the big transitions that got me to this place here?
Gosh, if I connect the dots backwards, it's a very curvilinear trajectory. I would like to say. I think back in undergrad, when I was back in India, I'll probably share some inflection points from that time onwards. Um, in my third and fourth year of my undergrad, I started working in a research-based startup. And over there, I was working on some cutting-edge technology, new projects, using Raspberry Pi, making some things like a wireless breadboard, where you connect different components without wires. So I was more interested in computer science and electronics both. You can consider me as a confused child, right? So, not sure where to go. Let's try get your hands dirty in both those areas.
Right.
So after college, like in third and fourth year, after 4 or 5 p.m., I leave the college. The startup was very close to my undergrad university, and then I would just go over there, work, sleep, the next day come back from that startup back to the college. So this was my third and fourth year where I did some grinding, I would say, but it was all part of this learning curve that I wanted to go through. Um, so that basically instilled the curiosity in me to continue pushing myself forward. After that, so that was one inflection point. When I graduated and did one extra year in a place called Bangalore, which is kind of like the Silicon Valley of India, got a bit more of a project engineer experience, more on embedded C side, again more on the software side. But I wanted to see things moving or working when I'm trying to code into a piece of, let's say, a mechanical hand or a drone or something like that. After that, I would say, I feel like in every human being, there's a key that clicks. That's when you feel like now you need to do something about it.
Yeah.
I think that shouldn't stop. So thinking about that aspect, I immediately applied for my master's in 2015, came to Columbia University in New York to do my master's in electrical engineering, where I got very excited about IoT, embedded systems, and how you can embed different algorithms in order to make things work. If people have seen videos of Boston Dynamics, you kick a robot or you kick a dog, and then it again stabilizes itself, comes back on its feet, and continues moving. So those kind of things really excited me. So I started working on that, and that's when I was offered during my internship period in 2016 the opportunity to join in IBM as an AI IP engineer. And from there onwards, I think the journey to stick with IBM and at the same time improve my skills in AI and IoT, that just happened. And finally, last year, I moved to this new team as a data and AI architect. So there have been a lot of inflection points, I would say, where I learned a lot of things from different kind of mentors in all different places, all different parts of the world. And it's good to always have I would say, a good network, because as it said, you are kind of like the average of 5 people around you. So once you have that people of your frequency, you're always motivated and pumped up. And that's when you feel like, all right, I need to keep progressing and enjoy these inflection points. That's all.
Yes, I love that. I love this idea of inflection points. I think that's such a great way to talk about it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's talk about the master inventor title because you
Mhm.
also have that title currently and you've had that since, let's see, 2019.
Yes, that's right.
How what does that mean? How did you get it? Like, let's dive into that because I think that is such a cool part of what you're doing now. Hey, friends. Yep, I just broke into this interview because I wanted to share something new with you. As you know, I'm a career strategist and coach, and for years, I've been helping professionals get to the next step in their career. One of the resources I have used consistently is LinkedIn. If you just rolled your eyes at me, hear me out. I have a client who started putting in the work to revamping her LinkedIn. She has always had it, but it wasn't working for her. We honed in on her career goals, transformed her LinkedIn profile, and created a strategy to help her get to the next step in her career. On average, she now gets 2 to 3 messages per month from recruiters wanting her to apply or interview for positions. Whether you're looking for that next position, want to be a thought or industry leader, or simply want to have a more targeted and professional online presence, you'll want to check out my new course, LinkedIn Level Up for the Corporate Professional. This course will teach you how to enhance your profile to get noticed by recruiters and hiring managers without getting a paid account. Teach you how to create and cultivate intentional connections, and help you find your voice as a thought or industry leader to get you noticed for more opportunities. This is the strategy I have used throughout my career and I regularly use with my clients. I've taken 10 years of teaching clients how to best utilize LinkedIn for their career success and put it into a 30-day course that also includes an hour-long strategy session with me at the end. If you want to know more about the course and take advantage of a one-time launch special, I'll leave a link in the blog post to sign up to receive emails. Now let's get back to the interview.
Sure, sure. So master inventor is someone who has close to 12 to 16 patents, which are filed at the United States Patent Office or internationally. And they're also helping the community with being a panelist, being a member, trying to evaluate other people's inventions as well, helping them along their inventions. So basically being a mentor and at the same time working on your own inventions along with it, and then building your technical eminence from there. So a master inventor can be a technical influencer in that field where you have understanding of what a patent is, how do you invent in a particular space, and how do you keep yourself charged by being on the vanguard of technology in terms of that particular domain, at least in that domain, be it AI, cloud, security, wireless domain, anything like that. So having that kind of SME or subject matter expert in that particular field. How I got into it was, that's an interesting story actually. When I joined IBM, I met a couple of master inventors in my team, and they were discussing about a couple of things, couple of ideas. And it usually spawns from observing things around you. People talk about anything and everything, right? When it comes to practical problems. Hey, I can't commute to office today because I have a flat tire, or when I'm doing something or building something, I'm always confused. And all of these wearable devices are coming up. The technology is growing exponentially. So I think I kind of shamelessly just barged in over there into the conversation, and I said, hey guys, I have an idea. What if you do this? I think from there they said, that's an interesting idea. We didn't think about that enhancement. Why don't you grab a seat and tell us about it? So I started sharing it. Quite a brazen approach, but I think now I'm happy about it that I did. I think it was a part of the networking event in my team. And from there, they said, and I did tell them that I have the experience to build it.
Mhm.
So can you just mentor me? And they said, sure, yeah, we'll help you out. And you can start writing or documenting all of those steps that would be involved along with the algorithm in order to create this kind of invention possible. And from there, the first time when I presented that to a panel, it's very similar to like presenting your thesis. So when you present it to a panel, that's when they give you a green signal that it can actually proceed, that we haven't seen something like this before. They do some extensive prior art search or a background search, whether something has been done, and eventually it proceeds if there's no prior art found in the space. So from 2016 till 2019, I continued along this journey. The task was to have 12 plus patents, but I think I kept cranking. I did like to joke around with my friends that I don't have a life over the weekends. So I will go to a Starbucks and just start writing up a particular idea and thinking about that problem from an engineering mindset.
Right.
That's the main aspect. You talk to people, you listen to people, not with the intent to reply, but sometimes with the intent to understand.
Yes.
So when you do that, that's when I think you can kick in your engineering brain and then try to think of solutions from that mindset and start building the solutions. So along this 3-year journey, just to wrap that thing up, I started working with a lot of my co-inventors, got great mentorship along the way, helped a lot of people along the way as well, and eventually got close to now 350 patents. And it's been a great journey so far. I'm very humbled that I have found my sweet niche or my network of people with whom I can match my frequency and keep pumping. So
Oh man.
that was a part of it.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay, here's what I love about that story.
Mhm.
You're like overhearing a conversation and you're like, "Ooh, I have an idea. Let me just jump in
Uh-huh.
to this conversation already happening." And
Exactly.
I think sometimes people are so afraid to do that. And I think within reason, obviously, there are appropriate times and inappropriate times to do that. But
Absolutely.
these are people on your team that you're
Mhm.
working with. It's an environment where there's already some camaraderie there, and it's
Yeah.
okay to do. And I love that you shared that, because
Mhm.
I think more people need to realize that part of getting out there and showing people what's going on in your brain is having these conversations, is sometimes jumping into a conversation that might not be with you,
Mhm.
but if it's appropriate, it could be a really great opportunity. And you're an amazing example of that, because 350 patents, that's like, what?
Thank you so much. Actually, you spawned one thought process actually. So talking about this, having this mental blockage, right? Not being able to articulate your thoughts or jumping into a conversation. Um, because I experienced that when I was mentoring other budding co-inventors, if you will. I did launch something called Women in Inventing Initiative because I realized that there is a statistical ratio at United States Patent Office that I think the number of inventors who are registered, I would say 60 to 80% are male and only 20% are female inventors. And I was surprised to hear that staggering number, and I was shocked. I reached out to a couple of my distinguished engineers and I said, we need to launch this initiative where we need to have this balance. Balance is very important. So I started talking to more female co-inventors or budding co-inventors, and I started talking to them not from a, not from a just a mentor, but as a friend. That is there any mental blockage that you face? And I found out statistically they do face more mental blockage. It's not like there's any difference in the IQ level, right? Absolutely not, right? Women are supposed to be more, or they are considered to be more of a multitasker compared to men. And at the same time, if you are technically adept, the only thing is that's blocking you is your hesitance level, right? Your reluctance. So because of that, I just reached out to a lot of people and then started you know um, internal conferences, you can call it, where I just talk to those people and then ask them, you don't need to be afraid of sharing your ideas. And there is no dumb question, as you stated a couple of minutes back. Just throw your idea and don't feel like you'll be judged on that idea. Think about it from a way that everyone around you is exactly on the same page as you, right? And there is no high or low in the gender margin or anything like that. There is no bias that you need to consider. Just go along with it, throw your idea, and and talk about your idea with the people you can trust, and then try to spread it around. So because of that initiative, we will try to improve those numbers a bit. And I think I kind of feel proud of the fact that we pushed for it, right? Because these are the things that we need to do in the society right now that's lacking. And that can actually create that balance that we would want in a society.
Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. I have chills because as a woman, having been in the workplace, as most women will tell you, sometimes it is very hard to have a voice.
Yeah.
And it takes, I hate saying it, but a lot of times it takes men coming in and saying, no, you have a voice. Let me help you because I have a position. And so I am like loving that you recognized this and now you're trying to help other female inventors just get out there, because that's likely all they need is they need just that support and somebody to say, yeah, it's a good idea, go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that was the main intent. And of course, it's not like you're just walking in and then just showcasing or being a braggart about it. People need to realize, yes, you are humbly being welcomed into a niche, and then you can always feel free to share your ideas with whosoever you're comfortable with. Right. And once that happens, then the journey just kickstarts. It's like a Kickstarter program within itself.
That's so amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you shared that. That is absolutely wonderful. Okay, let's get into some more tips because I'm already loving what you're saying. So I want to make sure that the audience hears as much as they can out of you. Okay, so I would love to know, what are 3 of your management tips, your main management tips? And this can be as somebody who is managed by somebody else or somebody who manages or even mentors other people. What are kind of your top tips that you have for people out there?
Wow, that's a tough question. I'll have to think about it. One thing is, don't lose your curiosity. It's something which is ingrained from the start, before we even started going to schools. If you can be intrigued by even the very tiniest of things, very minute things, just keep that excitement level intact. We don't want to just exist, we want to live, right? So and there is a quote which I like to share with people, to rest your mind is to rust your mind. So I would say, just try to spread your wings. Don't try to you will have a lot of failures in life, but try to use those failures as a positive feedback so that you can get back up on your feet and try to go along that race once again. And again, you don't even have to consider this a race. It's just something where you need to enjoy along the journey. It's your life. Quite often what happens is we end up comparing our journey with different people. Sure, there can be 10%, 20%, 30% plagiarism if we think about it from my life being similar to someone else's. But if you just start comparing your achievements with someone else, then you are kind of losing your track and feeling that grass is always greener on the other side, whereas you might be overlooking that the grass on your side is getting in a different distorted shape. So the main point being, don't lose your curiosity. Try to explore as much as possible. I think everyone should stay in that exploration stage. unless and until they have found their sweet spot. I still say it, and I say it even to my friends, that I'm still confused about a lot of things in my life. Be it about my work, be it about anything else that's happening around me. And I think it's okay to stay confused. But when you need to get stuff done, at that point of time, just get it done. Be focused. Because sometimes we end up overthinking a lot of things, eventually becoming a little bit negative at quite often at times when we are along that overthinking trail. And it's very hard to push ourselves back. We have left the shore long time back. Now we are in the middle of the ocean on a boat which has probably a hole in it, and then just we are waiting for it to drown. So
Yes, that's a good analogy.
I don't know how I went over there, but it's sometimes with analogies you can feel what's the right mindset. But you need to always hang yourself to the rope, which is anchored on that shore, so that you can pull yourself back on your feet and then continue moving. So don't lose the motivation. Keep your curiosity alive. And I would say another thing: keep it simple, silly. That's the KISS principle I like to follow. Don't try to overcomplicate things. Um, you know, if you are able to explain something to someone, or maybe to your 10-year-old kid, that means you're golden. That means you've already understood the concept behind it. So don't try to overcomplicate things, even though it may look very convoluted. But try to simplify it down. Even if you need a piece of paper and then write down what else you need in order to balance your entire daytime, it's totally fine. And it's fine if it doesn't work out. But keep pumping. Don't lose your motivation.
Okay, so for any parents listening, I feel like you know how to explain something very simple. And I read a statistic somewhere, and I am not going to get the numbers right, but what they found was the kids that end up excelling and doing quite well in school outside of just their natural intelligence are the ones where the parents actually explained how things worked. So if they asked a question, the parent would go through and not just say like, oh, it doesn't matter, but they would talk about step by step. Okay, this does this does that, and this impacts this. And I heard that, oh my gosh, I think my son was like 1 at the time, so it didn't really apply at that time. But now he's about 3.5 at the time that we're recording this. And I remember that to this day. And so now when he asks me a question, I make sure, whether I think he understands it or not, which I will tell you, I would say about 90% of the time he does understand.
Nice.
But I break things down for him as simple as I can for as long as he will pay attention to me, so that he can get that processing component and he can see how things work. And if I don't know, I will say to him, you know what, buddy, I don't know the answer to that question. Let's find the answer together. And we'll look it up and we'll find something, to help us with that. And oh man, you can see the wheels turning, and he remembers. It's crazy. And so even just that little piece, when you can explain to kids, it has such a huge impact. So
absolutely. And I think you threw a very good thought there. You don't need to know everything. I mean, we are not an amalgamation of all the geniuses in the world and then just embedded inside us. It's okay to not know and say it out, and then just Googling it and finding it out and then telling it to your kid, right? Or to anyone else for that matter.
Yeah.
It's okay to not know. That's what I want to put it out there. Sometimes because our alter ego or a part of us doesn't want to accept it, but I think that's a unique idiosyncratic trait, if you want to call it that way, that people need to digest very willfully, that it's all right, even if you don't know it, we can figure it out.
Yeah. I will tell you, as a career coach and career strategist, I say I don't know more more often than not, because I used to be, when I worked in higher ed, and even now a lot of times, I was a generalist. So I didn't have any specific area that I was focused in on. And honestly, my personality is such that I have an interest in everything. So it would actually bore me if I focused in on like one sector or something like that. But I would have students come in. I had one student who said, I want to be a beekeeper in South America somewhere. She was like really passionate about bees. And I was like, okay, I don't know anything about that, but let's jump on the computer. Let's figure it out. And the one thing that I was really good at was research. And I could go to Google and I could very quickly pick out, this is a legitimate website. This is a legitimate resource. And I would send that to them. And that's the thing. I'm not going to know everything. I'm not going to have the answers, so even working with a career coach, if you're expecting your career coach to know everything about every job and every sector, they're not. Right. But you have to look at what they bring to the table outside of that. And if they can research and they can work with you, that's the really key component there. And I have to bring up something else that you talked about. Well, it's kind of an offshoot of what you were talking about, but I think people have this idea of what success looks like because they compare themselves to people around them, right? Yes. So they see somebody in that next step up and they're like, oh, I want to do that. Or I want to be like this person over here, or their friend is doing that, whatever it looks like for them. And they get that in their head that is success. Right. And you define success for yourself. And I always talk about seasons of life, right? So right now I'm in a season where my son is very young and my time with him is so precious. And I put a lot more emphasis on my time with him than I do on my business, honestly. And that's okay, because this is a season that we are in. And you might have a season where you are killing it in your job and you're just going and producing and you're getting the promotions and things are happening. And if that's what you want and you feel good and you feel proud about that, awesome. Like, you can't let somebody else say, well, you haven't hit this milestone, therefore you are unsuccessful. Right. No, you decide what success looks like. You decide the milestones for yourself. You decide that. Society doesn't decide it. Your parents don't decide it. Your partner sometimes, they should probably have a say in some of it. Yeah. Advice, but it's really up to you. And success in one season might look like taking a step back. Yep. And success might look like going for the promotion, and both are correct. And so I want to make sure that people hear that, because I think that's such an important thing to remember when we live in such a fast-paced world, and tech especially. I mean, I think the world that you're in, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like, oh, what's the next big thing? Like, what's the next big idea? Where's that, am I going to get a Pulitzer for this or whatever the big thing is? I don't know what all your big things are, but I think you can get caught up in that and just kind of taking a step back and remembering, like, okay, what is success for me right now? And focusing on that. Yes, it's super personalized, right? That's what people need to understand. Success for someone might mean like, I want to get a charter plane for myself. That's success. For someone else, it might be like, I just want to be happy with my family. Doing what I'm doing, and I just want to keep them happy and lead a happy life, living rather than existing. So that's yes. Oh, I love that. Okay, let's jump into one of my favorite questions that I like to ask my guests. Tell me about a book that changed your perspective on your career or life.
Oh, interesting. I'm a nonfiction person. I like Malcolm Gladwell's books, where I'd like to see how he creates those patterns, like Blink, Nudge, Outliers, one of the best ones. One of my favorite ones is Outliers. And if I think about different kind of other books as well, like one was Surely You Are Joking, Dr. Feynman. It was from Richard Feynman,
Okay.
the famous scientist who worked on the Manhattan Project. I think he's one of the most amazing guys I have ever read about. Um, and if I like to build a time machine and go back in time, I would want to meet him for sure. So he had this humorous side to him where wanted he was so lively that he wanted to get deeper into all different kind of concepts and at the same time enjoy his life as well. He was a very humorous guy, and it was clearly shown through not just his inventions or whatever he did, but how he enjoyed those theoretical subjects and pushing them towards the practical boundaries as well. So surely you're joking, Dr. Feynman is one of the best books that I've read. Outliers is another one. Thinking a little bit more about nonfiction books, I would say The Last Lecture. That's another beautiful one. And Tuesdays with Maurice. Just some of these books. I cannot pinpoint just one, but these are some of the books that I really, really
That's
like.
okay. I had another guest that gave me a list of 10. So
Oh, wow. I don't want to go there, but yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you. And I will, in the blog post for this episode, I will link all of those books so everybody can go check them out because these are some new ones that we've had. So that's really exciting. So I'm excited to check those out.
Wonderful.
Okay. So one of the things with what I do as a career coach, I'm all about controlling your career. And so I think you have been a shining example of somebody that has really taken control of your career. And so I like to share with people those moments. And so I would love to know for you, when do you think that you really took control of your career?
Never. Short answer is never. I think it just keeps evolving. I feel stressed out when I feel like nothing is moving. I need to be on the water, on my toes, most of the time, because I want to feel that I'm moving somewhere. One thing that I felt or feel mathematically speaking is if last year you were on, at time t, you were on X, today I want to be at X plus 1. At least a bit of a curve should be going in an evolving direction. Not just about professional life, personal life as well. So it needs to, if I feel like I'm learning something new every single day, that's what keeps me satiated. So I feel like feeling of contentment or satisfaction is temporary. You achieve something, you can celebrate it, but the next day you might feel like again you are missing out on something. I'm not saying for people to have FOMO. don't have that fear of missing out. It's just that whatever makes you happy. If learning about new stuff makes me happy, it can be a very different thing for you as well. Right. But try to keep pushing yourself in the right direction, whichever that direction be. So
I love that. Also, if you want to know what Shekhar is learning, go to his LinkedIn because he has all kinds of certifications and courses that he has been taking. And oh my gosh, the list is absolutely insane. So we can definitely tell that you are somebody that likes to learn. And I appreciate that. I've been trying to explain this to people in my life because I think sometimes people look at other people and go, oh, you've achieved so much, you've done so much. But when you are somebody with the mentality that you just described, which is, I want to be better than I was yesterday or last year or last month, and you're constantly wanting to continue to level up, sometimes it's hard to celebrate those wins and remember that you've already done really great things and to not like put yourself down for not continuing that process or if you get stuck or something like that. And so I so appreciate that on a personal level because as you were speaking, I was like, oh my gosh, that is exactly how I feel inside. So
and that's natural, right? I think like that happens with everyone. Everyone has a downside. And then how can you experience true happiness when you have never felt a little bit of sadness?
That's true.
It's one of those things. Crests and troughs will keep happening, and
Yes.
but you need to acknowledge, as you said, sometimes we are overly critical of ourselves, including myself, quite a lot, and that's when you need to realize that you've had good things as well, and you need to cherish those and then acknowledge those. Don't take it for granted, and then continue moving.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that so much. Okay. I have a couple of bonus questions for you because this whole inventor piece, I'm totally stuck on it. And I think that's something that I want to get out there into the world for people to really understand what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, what are your tips for somebody who really wants to go into this, somebody that has like this inventor inside of them, or maybe they have already invented something and they don't know what to do? Because I know a lot of people have really great ideas, but sometimes they don't know how to get started or what to do. So can you give a little bit of insight into, if I'm a regular person, like what can I do to get that path started?
Okay, I think first of all, going back to the original point, keeping your curiosity alive, that's the most important thing. Be intrigued and inquisitive, right? I square. And I would say, so once you keep reading new technology or new stuff, whatever that might be, right? Let's say you want to build a smart cognitive toy for your kid. So it can be anything and everything, but try to keep learning new things. And one thing that I've seen myself doing as well is, or I used to do is, we have a lazy mindset. I don't know if people have read Thinking Fast and Slow. That's another book which I can recommend.
Okay.
But from a lazy mindset, what I mean is, we think of some idea, it strikes, and then it just goes away. After half an hour, we are like, oh, I thought of some amazing idea, and now I just forgot. It just flew by. I'm trying to get into a pace for the past couple of years as well. As soon as I get certain idea, even while taking a shower, it can be as simple as that, I will try to open my Google Keep and immediately write it down. If you write just 2 sentences on that idea, it'll stick. It's like you are writing your own journal, right? But like people express their thoughts in journals. You can think about different kind of ideas. At night, it might be better to read something good, which can help you, ignite your gray matter. So these simple things, right? And when you're reading something very complicated, try to break it down into chunks. If, as I said, like if you can explain it to a 5 or 10-year-old, then is the only moment that you feel like you are a true teacher. So these are just a couple of things that I would like to reduce it to practice personally and share it with others as well.
That's awesome. Oh, such great tips. That's such a good idea. I honestly did not even occur to me to just write it down when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start doing that because.
Yeah. I mean, we have our phone with us our entire time, right? And we cannot live without it now in this generation. And you just need to open an app and just write 2 sentences. It's going to take 10 seconds, not more than that.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh. So good. Okay. So you've shared a little bit about kind of the journey, the beginning of the journey and all of that. Okay. Over 350 patents. That's a lot. That's a lot of ideas. That's a lot of curiosity being put out there into the world. Where does this come from? Like, where does this motivation to do this additional work? Because it really is a lot of additional work outside of your main job. Like, where does that stem from for you?
I think so. A lot of people like to live in their silos. When as a software engineer, I would purely like to work on my small sub-module within a huge, let's say I'm building an infotainment system in a car. I like to work on a radio module of that infotainment system and I'm done. I think thinking out of the box is another thing. That it's a I would say a cliche dialogue. People like to put it out there. Thinking inside the box as well, where you try to connect some dots of your past, infuse it with where you're heading, that can help you in crafting more ideas. If I simplify it down, because um, since my undergrad, joining the startup and then doing a couple of things on my own and then pushing myself, I started from hardware, went into different areas and avenues in life, came into software, then IoT, embedded, AI. So when you try to learn anything and everything, that's when you are able to connect those dots. And when you're able to do that, it comes easier to you. So if you have curiosity to go in and spread your wings in different directions, then it becomes easier to think about those. And I would share one thought, right? Most of the people that I have discussed ideas or our master inventors are twice my age. So they often think about it this way, that and I feel humbled that I have those people. So I don't like to just be around with people my age and gain experience as much as possible from someone who is younger to me, because the next generation is always going to be more I would say have more affinity towards technology. The next big thing is going to be quantum computers, which probably the next generation would be enjoying, and we would not be able to enjoy or experience to the fullest. Or maybe we will, but won't be able to understand as much as the next generation that might be. So I think keeping your ego aside, learning from the next generation and also the previous one. I'm currently learning a lot from people who are twice my age, and also from my cousins, from my friends, family who are younger to me and who are more adept in using different technologies. Keep asking questions is all I want.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Shekhar, thank you so much for this interview. This has been so much fun to learn about your world. And I know that my audience is just gonna love this. It's so interesting. And I think it's not a common career. I think it's becoming more common, but this was so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your story and being so open. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Julia. It was a pleasure.
Okay, if people want to connect with you, is there a way that they can do that, or what's the process there for you?
Yeah, I think I'm usually active on LinkedIn or email. So feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'll be more than happy to connect with you.
Awesome. And in the blog post, I will make sure to link your LinkedIn, as well as all of the books and resources that we talked about in today's interview. So again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.